Hey guys, it's Chris. From terrifying snakes to mysterious UFOs, plus a horrifying river that melts the skin off the bone. Here are 10 of the scariest things ever found in the Amazon. Number 10. The Maricoxi. One of the scariest things ever found in the Amazon jungle is a group of creatures known as the Maricoxi. These terrifying creatures are supposedly giant ape-like beasts with similarities to the North American Sasquatch. The Maricoxi have allegedly been discovered in several parts of South American jungle and were originally encountered in 1914. Some people believe that the Maricoxi are in fact just an ancient tribe of extremely hairy people that live in villages deep within the unexplored parts of the Amazon. But other people believe that the Maricoxi are some kind of Bigfoot. There's no official explanation for what exactly these creatures are, but some reports place them at being over 12 feet tall. And even though they supposedly look like huge apes, they're apparently able to use tools such as bows and arrows, and they even have a social structure that allows them to live in close-knit communities. Unfortunately, there have been no recognized documentation of the Maricoxi. Despite this, they have been reported as being extremely aggressive to humans, apparently attacking them on sight. The British explorers who first found the Maricoxi while mapping the remote jungles in 1914 claimed that they were scared of gun noises, which makes sense since they would have never heard such a noise before. The explorers also claimed that the Maricoxi could only speak in grunts, which they believed to be some kind of very primitive language. As of now, there's been no proof put forward of their physical existence, but that hardly means the Maricoxi aren't real. Number 9. The River of Death. Deep in the Amazon of Peru, there's a river of death. The Peruvian locals have been talking about it for centuries, a river that burns so hot it can melt the skin from a human's bones. There are even legends that go back to the time of the Spanish conquistadors, when Spanish invaders went into the rainforest in search of gold and instead found snakes that can eat humans, poisonous lakes, and a river that boils from below. And of course, all of these things are real. A Peruvian geoscientist who had been fascinated by the myth of the boiling river since he was a young boy finally went in search of it while completing his PhD on geothermal energy potential. Until its discovery, all of the relevant experts had claimed that a boiling river was impossible. Perhaps if there was a boiling river near a volcano, it would make sense, but there are no volcanoes in the Amazon jungle of Peru. That didn't stop the geoscientist from going in search of the river anyways, and in 2011 he hiked into the forest and he found it. And much to his disbelief, the river was boiling hot. The average temperature inside the river was measured at 187 degrees Fahrenheit. And even though that's not boiling temperature, it is pretty darn close. And this wasn't a small river either. This was a massive river, but 82 feet wide and 20 feet deep, and burning at an extremely hot temperature for roughly 4 miles. Plus, the river is located over 400 miles from the nearest volcanic system. Of course, there is a scientific reason why this river is practically boiling. After quite a bit of research, it turned out that fault lines running beneath the river were the cause of this intense heat. The river is part of an enormous hydrothermal system underground, much larger than any other found on the planet. Heat rising from deeper inside the planet is leaking through fissures at the bottom of the river, and that causes it to be so hot that any animal that falls into it is basically boiled to death. Number 8. Mysterious UFO. UFO sightings can be scary, but what's really scary is when we find UFOs hanging out in the trees of the Amazon rainforest. According to a report from the Daily Record, an unidentified object was recently spotted deep within the Amazon jungle, hidden inside the trees and only visible because of satellite imagery. It all happened when a line of shiny orbs was discovered through, get this, Google Maps of all places. It's pretty obvious that the lights didn't exactly fit with their surroundings, located deep in a rural part of Brazil. The lights are the only artificial thing within miles and miles of trees, and they very clearly appear to be part of an alien spaceship, either hovering inside the trees or maybe even parked on the forest floor. Unfortunately, the UFO is completely unexplainable. Even though the footage has circulated online, nobody has any logical explanation as to what the object could be or why it would be in such a remote and forested area of Brazil. Number 7. Giant green anaconda. When it comes to living animals, the most terrifying and scary thing inside the Amazon rainforest is the green anaconda. Let me tell you a few reasons why. First, the green anaconda is the heaviest snake on Earth, weighing over 200 pounds and growing to be, on average, 25 feet long. Green anacondas have been caught eating capybaras, caiman, and there have even been multiple reports about anacondas slithering out of rivers and snatching people off the shoreline, then drowning them and eating them. And even though the giant green anaconda has some pretty nasty teeth in its mouth, they don't actually use them. They instead strangle, suffocate, and drown their victims before swallowing them whole. According to Mental Floss, green anaconda even practice cannibalism. What's really interesting is that it's only the female green anacondas who've been witnessed eating the smaller males. And even though there have been reports of anacondas roughly the length of a yellow school bus eating human beings, science is actually a little skeptical about it. This is because even though there is a lot of anecdotal hearsay, there's no actual reports. There has never been a verified sighting of an anaconda ingesting a human being. Scientists have absolutely no doubt it's possible, they just don't appear to have a taste for human blood, or they're just really, really good at keeping secrets. Number 6. Death in the Amazon Fulfillment Center. This next story, it's a little tricky. Just recently on a Thursday morning, a body was discovered outside the Amazon, but not the Amazon jungle. It was an Amazon fulfillment center in Dallas, and this story deserves a place on the list simply for its absurdity. The body was found around 11 a.m. according to local media reports, and then it was retrieved by Dallas firefighters who had to pull the corpse out of a small creek behind Amazon's giant warehouse. Dallas police refused to immediately comment on the situation, and so we don't know exactly what happened to the dead person, but this just goes to show that the circle of life extends far beyond the Amazon jungle, all the way to the fulfillment centers of America. Number 5. The Sawtooth Dolphin. The Sawtooth Dolphin is a terrifying creature, at least it would be if it existed. This is one of the most controversial animals in all of the Amazon jungle. It goes by several other names too, such as the razorback dolphin, the holodira, or even the Amazon Nessie. It's allegedly a massive freshwater dolphin that looks very similar to a bato dolphin, except that its dorsal fin is covered in notches like what you would find on a saw blade. But what really separates the Sawtooth Dolphin from its Scottish cousin in Loch Ness is that there are legitimate photos. In 1993 and 1994, photos were taken of the Sawtooth Dolphin by the famous River Monsters TV star and expert fisherman Jeremy Wade. He captured the photographs of this mysterious and frightening beast at an unnamed lake somewhere in the Amazon basin. Wade allegedly heard rumors that there were other sawtooth dolphins living in the nearby water channels. Unfortunately, the picture he took of the dolphins are hardly proof. It almost looks like Jeremy took photographs of the tail of a caiman, not the sawtooth fin of a dolphin. To this day, nobody has ever captured one of these elusive creatures or properly documented one. And unfortunately, seeing as many experts are saying that the Amazon jungle will pretty much be dead by 2068, there's a good chance that the sawtooth dolphin will be gone before we ever get a good look at it. Number 4. Amazon Ghost Town. Ghost towns are scary enough on their own, but when you put one in the middle of the Amazon jungle, you have a seriously terrifying place. Vila dos Descalvatos is a spooky ghost town located at the edge of the Paraguay River, deep in the heart of the Amazon. It's a mega wet swampland that makes the Florida Everglades look like Disney World. The history of this ghost town dates back to the 1860s, when it was used for farming, as a penitentiary, and for the shipment of contraband. It was apparently a stopping point for Teddy Roosevelt during his scientific Amazon expedition over 100 years ago. But in more modern times, the ghost town was owned by a Belgian firm who mostly sold illegal rubber and made beef jerky. Today, the ghost town is abandoned, creepy, and filled with snakes. There's also, according to Forbes magazine, an alleged ghost of a 10-year-old girl who asks any souls brave enough to enter the town if they want to play with her, and if that's not creepy, man, I don't know what is. And besides ghosts and snakes, there's also an ancient native burial ground. Plus, the town has a long history of deaths, drownings, and horrible violence. There are only about 4 or 5 people remaining after the townsfolk largely absconded for unknown reasons. If you're looking for the most terrifying place in all the jungle, check out Vila dos Descalvatos on your next expedition. Number 3. Humpback Whale. There's nothing more mysterious or terrifying than finding a deflated whale carcass in the middle of the Amazon jungle. According to Fox News, biologists were baffled when they found the body of this extraordinarily large whale being picked apart by vultures in the middle of the forest. The whale was estimated to be around 26 feet long, and it was discovered 50 feet from the shore. The whale was really just an infant, as most humpback whales are significantly larger, growing up to 62 feet in length. But as for how it managed to get all the way into the middle of the jungle is a bit of a mystery. So far as the investigating biologists are concerned, a powerful tide likely launched the whale inland, where it then got stuck in the mud and branches and was unable to find its way back to the water. But why was a humpback whale in the forests of Brazil in the first place? And that's the real conundrum for biologists. Officials have called it a very unusual occurrence, and have guessed that the young whale likely got separated from its mother and then somehow ended up swimming all the way to the coast of Brazil, where it ultimately found its way onto the dry land of the Amazon. Number 2. The Minhocao. The Minhocao is one of the most terrifying creatures ever discovered in Brazil, or really anywhere else in the rainforest. It's supposedly a giant fish that looks more like a worm, and different accounts have it placed at being anywhere between 60 and 240 feet in length. A French naturalist exploring the Amazon jungle was first made aware of this horrifying fish beast in 1846. He claimed that the Minhocao was living in the Padre Aranda and Faya lakes, where it would often drag horses and cattle under the water to eat them. The name Minhocao is actually derived from the Portuguese word for earthworm. Basically, the creature from Tremors was found living inside the lakes deep within the Amazon. But unfortunately, the Minhocao has never been officially spotted or documented. In May of 1876, a scientist allegedly brought a dead specimen of one of these creatures back to Europe. But all trace of it has since been lost, and even though there have been many expeditions proposed to go in search of the Minhocao, it's never been done. Some speculate that what looks like a horrifying worm monster could really just be a South American lungfish, or even a leftover member of a race of giant armadillos that lived in southern Brazil thousands of years ago. But to be quite honest, the reports are too askew to really take seriously. And still, there are no clear pictures of the legendary Minhocao. Number 1. Zombie fungus. The zombie fungus of South America is definitely real. According to Live Science, researchers have recently discovered a parasitic fungus that's able to infect the brains of ants to turn them into zombie slaves. But what's even more incredible is that the microorganism known as the zombie fungus is able to recognize the brains of various ant species. It then releases its mind-controlling chemical agents when it finds itself inside of its preferred ant host. Not only is the organism able to manipulate brains, but it's smart enough to know exactly which brain to manipulate. But what does the zombie fungus do when it infects the ant's brain? The answer is that it hijacks the central nervous system of the insect. The fungus then forces the ant to climb high into the vegetation, to bite hard onto a leaf or twig, and then die. The fungus will then grow a massive spore out of the ant's head, which will eventually leak more spores down from the vegetation onto the forest floor, which will eventually infect more ants and causes the process to continue. It's absolutely diabolical, and if any kind of fungus ever did this to humans, well, we could pretty much kiss our species goodbye. Are there any other scary discoveries you know of out in the Amazon? Please let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to World List if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you again soon.